How's everyone doing today? Awesome. So my name is ANOKE, and I'm a freshman at Saratoga High School, and today I will be reading to you guys 3 poems. And if any of you guys here are familiar with slam poetry, you guys know that it's kind of a direct line of communication between the performer and the audience. So during my poem, if I say anything that resonates with you or something you like, you can snap. Can everyone just like snap right now? Yeah, awesome. Or you guys can like kind of holler or like go woo. Yeah, if you guys, anything resonates with you. So yeah, awesome. So this first poem I wrote, it's called For the Migrants, and I wrote this actually the afternoon of when the caravan touched the border of the US and Mexico, and so I hope you guys enjoy this. Once, I had the idea of holding a food drive for the malnourished children detained at Border Patrol that was shot down for being too political. I was in the 7th grade. And maybe it was only because I was 12, or maybe because I never paid attention in math class, but at that exact moment, I failed to deduce correlation between the 2 variables. I failed to deduce correlation between politics and keeping a live person alive, because for some reason life on the border is not prioritized. In the past 2 years, 22 people have died under government ICE control, and so I ask you, what amount of money, what amount of national pride reduces a person to only an asset? Only a pro or a con or an alien, because when a body is dead, there's no life left, regardless of which side of a border it lies. I wonder what it is about migration. We're chasing salvation that asks to be antagonized into bloodthirsty home invasion, painting a narrative of drug dealers, rapists, thugs, and robbers flooding into this country. Yet no one ever talks about the single mothers trying to pave a violence-free future for their children. No one ever talks about the teenagers willing to leave everything behind to try to provide for their family. No one ever talks about the thousands and thousands of people willing to leave their lives behind just for one shot at salvation, just for a chance to maybe get to see the face of God, get a taste of what peace feels like for once. Nobody chooses to run unless there is no choice. Nobody chooses to leave behind their family. No one chooses to leave behind their home. Nobody willingly chooses to leave their friends, their culture, their lineage, their language, to embark on a journey with no exact destination. To embark on a journey with no definitive end. You have to understand that sometimes there is no choice, because no one willingly chooses to make a home out of tear gas and an apathetic president. Nobody chooses to build a home on land that doesn't want them there. Sometimes there is no choice. The least that we can do is to stand at the border with open arms.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's powerful. I have hope in this youth. Yes.
So
yeah, they are
my
awesome.
second poem is one of my favorite poems I've written, and it's called Ageism and the Gun Problem. So I wrote this for the Brooklyn 17. I'm writing for all the girls and boys whose lives
You didn't know we'd be using it as a table.
sheltered from insensitive topics, because world issues are adult issues. Political issues are adult issues. The issues that ended up taking these students' lives were also labeled as adult only. Well, if the kiss of a bullet doesn't know age, why should knowledge? So stop telling me that I'm too young to understand the things that are happening to me, my people, my classmates, the people my age. So when we come together and say that there's something wrong with your background checks, don't tell us that we are too young. When we come to say that the fact that there have been 345 mass shootings in the past 365 days is a problem, when we say premature death is a problem, when we come together and say that America's sadistic romance with guns is a problem, don't tell us that we are too young. When we come together and support our brothers and sisters at Santa Fe, at Lexington, at Palmdale, Dixon, Noblesville, Ocala, school shootings that our NRA-funded government tried to mask over. Like, as long as we don't acknowledge it, it's not happening. Well, Mr. President, I wonder how hard it is to wear young blood as concealer.
Wow.
How easy it must be to blame mental illness as the real perpetrator. Tell them it's not the guns, it's the people. Tell us what's traditional can't hurt us. Well, Mr. President, no matter how customary, no matter how time-honored your guns are, yes, they still kill. Yes, we still bleed when we're shot, so we're the ones who come together and say to our fellow students here, I don't know you, but your life is mine, and mine yours here. Although I'm only your age and our souls seem light years apart, I will do anything in my power to keep you safe. So don't tell us that we are too young. When we come together and say that there is no hall pass large enough to excuse America from its screaming absence on gun reform, when we say that it's not America's cultural problem, when we say that it's not America's historical problem, when we say it's not America's mental illness or educational problem that excuses the fact that America has a gun problem, don't tell us that we are too young. Thank you.
Yes.
Actually kind of a poem that I wrote to someone in real life, and I was like, a letter I wrote to someone kind of in real life, and I thought, oh, it'd be cool if I turned this into a poem. So this poem is kind of like explaining what feminism is to people like who don't understand. And it's called To the Boy in My Biology Class.
All right.
To the boy in my biology class who believes that all feminists are crazy. Hello, it's me. Not Adele, but the girl who sits behind you, who heard you try to invalidate International Women's Day because of the lack of acknowledgement for International Men's Day.
Oh, dear.
Who heard you try to invalidate female power by demanding justice for the boys oppressed by America's new touch of femininity. You have to understand that when I say feminism, I don't mean the genocide of chivalry. That when I say feminism, I don't mean the oppression of the male gender. Understand that when I say feminism, I mean the progression of equality. I mean that we are all equal and should not be seen as any less. Understand that when I say feminism, I mean that I am sick of seeing more Anita Hills being brushed off. Sick of seeing more Brock Turners being released. Sick of seeing history repeat itself over and over again. They say 1 in 5. And I imagine all the faces I've seen in the past hour. I imagine my mother. I imagine my best friend. I imagine my neighbor. I imagine the Starbucks barista downtown, and I know more people than I can ever imagine will one day have a story that they will be too scared to tell. Will one day have a story that they will be constantly trying to silently stomach. Will one day have a story that society will tell them to silently stomach whole. To the boy in my biology class who believes that we are just angry girls catalyzing fires out of vacant problems, you have to understand that when we march, it's for Anne-Marie Birch, whose 9 calls to the police prior to her murder were brushed off as purely hysterics. It's for Summer Bond, a high school honor student who was suspended and harassed by her school principal for wearing a shirt that exposed the tops of her shoulder. It's for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who was threatened, harassed, threatened with death for coming forward with the story of her sexual assault. When we march in reverence of every single story told and every single narrative not yet voiced. When we march, we don't seek to oppress, only to educate. We don't seek to invalidate, only to help every story see the light of day.
Yes.
Once, at a school rally, my friend was pulled aside and called one of those nasty feminists. She simply smiled and said, "Thank you. I am proud to be one." Thank you.